We know at some level, we all know this whole thing with the government. I mean, it's the number one scam that there is. They're running all of it. They're running children abduction. They're running the Epstein. They're running the media. They're running the education. It's evil corruption. The bottom of the bottom on consciousness. There's no consciousness there. They're so separated from the sense of who they are. It's complete inversion now. And I'll say it just government, because you mentioned that your ex or your boy's dad was a government agent and probably run from it or something. And so I think that that's,
And I know it for
more of
sure.
that has to be,
And I
for
know it,
sure.
I know it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then, I mean, that has to be discussed. At the same time, it's like you said, they'll protect them. They'll protect their operatives
exactly.
because they're puppets. Because I mean,
Everything you just said is right on.
I have no problem talking about it. I just think I want to be more intentional about the actions that I'm going to take. Like, for example, if you know that there is a child literally being taken and abducted if you know that there's harm being done, would you not do something to stop that? Would you not actually take some action? So that's where we have a whole hierarchical order followers, blinders on because they're getting a paycheck. I mean, this is the massive cognitive dissonance that is out there. And it's not just in government, it is in religion. It is in, I mean, religion, holy smoke.
Oh
We
yeah.
can we can go there. We
Oh
can go there if you want because I've been in it. I've seen the evil. I'll say I perpetuated my part of it in that I was an executive and I was recruiting people for the cult. I didn't know the depth of the slavery and torture that was going on, right? But we justified it. You justify it because of the greater good, which is bullshit.
yeah.
It's total bullshit.
Well, there's a lot in there. Very interesting points.
Mm.
Maybe we can dig into a little bit of that.
The holistic work that I do, because I mean, how can you segregate, right? So it's holistic, but people think that that's woo. It's like I'm considering the whole person, the
Mhm.
body, the mind, the what you're doing, your career, your life, your
Well, more and
history, your
more people
environment,
don't think it's woo-woo anymore because of
Yeah,
modern.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But that was my original certification as a holistic health practitioner, holistic lifestyle coach from Czech practitioner 20 years ago. And before that was corrective exercise. It just morphs as you learn, just like you get more tools in your toolbox and you do. I'm loving human design. I think it's very useful.
But I got into that like years ago and then I got out of it because I didn't know how accurate it was. And I could, like, I'm intuitive as well, and I would see certain things that were not part of any system. I'm like, no
Well, see,
system.
that's the thing. That's the thing. With anything, whether it's human design, DMSO, nutrition, is that the individual has to freaking think for themselves. And
Right.
that's why it's like, I don't, you, I will, you don't put everybody on the same diet. That's the dumbest thing in the world. And
Totally.
yet there's a book that comes out and everybody's now on that diet. It's like, what? It's the same with the human design. You don't automatically take it all in. It's just information. Use what's useful, get rid of the rest.
Yeah.
But we have gone so far from thinking for ourselves that that's why I'm an advocate. The first, lead yourself first, please. Please lead your own thoughts. Please lead your own, and I will guide and do my best to help extricate because every single day I'm trying to deprogram, decondition the way I was brought up, the way the society and the culture conditions us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone's got to
So,
do their own work
yeah,
in the end.
exactly. That's right.
And then if they don't, they expect a savior. That's what happens. And then like that's not me. I'm not a savior. I can't do that job. Sorry.
Well, the moment you expect that savor, it's because of that. It's because of that conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we've put something outside of ourselves, a God, that is then responsible, and now we're going to blame. And then you can put mommy or daddy into that role, or you can put government into that role, or religious figures into that role. It doesn't matter. It's all the same twisted soup. That's all it is until someone totally understands, and I'll say take personal responsibility, but that even those words are inadequate because our human language is inadequate.
Totally. Well, the dark side twists it, and we're going to get into that.
So twisted. Oh
Yeah,
my
because
gosh.
I have
Yeah.
so many examples of how somebody starts out with a good message and it gets completely twisted and then it becomes a suicide cult. And it's incredible how like it ends up being a an old man sex cult that turns into a suicide cult. Why does it always go that way? No matter what you
Well,
do.
yeah, I think that that's just the wave. I mean, we think that our lives are so important, and we have been around the block a long time. I'm talking order of magnitude of, it's unfathomable to the human brain, millions of years, billions of years. It's the years mean nothing, but we're so conditioned to believe that this is the timeline from, born dash death. That's not even remotely who you are. They've got folks so mired in to this belief and how much you can accumulate now because that's just this generational pattern. That's just what whomever has kind of
Because that they can take
gotten the
away from you.
construct
Because that
right.
they can take away from you.
Fear. Then and
Yeah.
what is it? Because of fear. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. I'm not allowed. I'm not safe. It's all of those things, and it's all at the undercurrent is fear, which is the antithesis. It's the opposite of what? Love. And I don't mean boyfriend girlfriend. I mean
Sure.
I mean the essence of consciousness of who we are.
Exactly. Well, you know so much. This is why I wanted to bring you on because I feel like you know so much. And when I watch your videos, I feel like you're just giving a nugget because I've been told probably you were too. You just got to dumb everything down. And I used to do that. And now I'm like, no, I'm not doing it anymore because I don't want dumb clients. I want smart clients
Mm,
like me.
good.
I'm gonna put out content that interests me and I'm gonna attract people that interest and I'm gonna find the right people. Even if it's
Mhm.
only 5 people who follow me, but it's the 5 right people, that's way better than a million people who don't like who are so dumb they can't even like understand what I'm doing. This is why I'm saying maybe being that famous is not always the right way, And actually Joe Rogan
Yeah,
said,
I don't know the point of being famous. I think that's
well, you might not make any
but
money. Like you might not actually be connecting. Like you have all these likes and followers, but you're not really connecting with the right people. They just sort of cursory,
yeah.
oh yeah, like, and then they move on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And the thing is that so for example, because I love to play, I came from a theater background. I love the modeling and the and acting. So I was like, oh, I get to play. I get to talk to Ariel. I'm so excited. And so makeup and hair is like, okay, good. Because otherwise I'm in my, and I'll hang out in my bar and then I'm doing my stuff in here. And so no, this is fun. And I think it's not about, I think that the controllers, and we'll say government because it's all, give them all the little alphabet soup letters, CIA controlling the entertainment, Hollywood, all of it, right? Will put out that you need to be famous. And it makes you hungry for that because you're not worthy until you're famous. Oh my gosh, I have worked with at 7, 8, 9 zeros after folks, and they want nothing to do with social media or any of that because they are so aligned and tapped in. So the stuff that we see out with the Hollywood, maybe we'll see those zeros, but oh my gosh, it is such a controlled feed of how to keep people they used to, it's like circus bred, circus entertainment, right? To keep your attention. And that's all that it's doing is keeping your attention off. And it's good, it's useful. I mean, I love to go through the Oscars and see who is doing what and all of that. And then actually see, wow, how much inversion there is in our movies. And that's why for me, being an actress and being in what I loved from the very beginning, early on in my life, I've always wanted to be an actor because I loved the living truthfully in imaginary circumstances. That's from Sanford Meisner. Sandy Meisner was my original teacher in 1986. That was my greatest joy of living truthfully in imaginary circumstances. And to me, that's amazing. But what we see now with the Hollywood is basically all CIA projection of consciousness. They're trying to completely invert who they are. So that's why I'm excited to work with filmmakers and actors and performers and people who are writing things that have depth, not this total inversion of we've got to make sure we've got the trans and we've got to make sure we have this and we've got to make sure home birth is made bad because someone's going to die in a home birth. I mean, just stupid things that I'll see a script come through and it's like completely manipulated of how to think, how a woman's supposed to think about her body, how, it's like, and what makes it okay or not okay. It's so interesting. Okay, I went off on a tangent and you haven't even
No,
done an
it's
intro.
brilliant. I know it's brilliant. Actually, I mean, this is their neurodivergence at work. We tie in so
Yeah.
many things. This is why handlers can't handle us because the way our minds work, they can't handle it. They're so linear. They're so order following. When they encounter women like us, they break down. It doesn't work. That's why they hate us. That's why they want to shut us down. And like when we start, your mind kind of works like me. You pull in many different things, you connect it. And in the end, when you finally say it all, it makes total sense. But it's the same like me. Like sometimes I'll be talking for an hour, and even with my ex, it would happen so much. I talk for an hour. He's like, "Well, you finally got to the point." I'm like, "No, you had to see the steps." He
Yeah.
couldn't follow the steps. He could never follow that sequence. His mind would not work like that because it's entirely in the box.
Yeah. The left brain dominant uh, hierarchy that's controlled right now, which is the animal one focus, and there's no balance. So
Yes, and that's
now
how we got
I
like,
can be imbalanced the other way and be all over the place.
yeah,
But
but that's how we hack the matrix. That's what I realized. This is how we hack the matrix.
yeah,
Doing that, it's not by accident.
and here's the thing. I used to really be into how am I going to hack the matrix? How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to understand that? And that's the mistake. That's the mistake. You don't have to hack the matrix. You don't have to get out of anything. You just have to wake up. Neo, right? Okay. You have to wake up and realize who you are. Because if you think you have to hack the matrix, you're already in it.
Totally. I didn't mean have
Which
to
is,
make the
you know what I
matrix
mean?
to get out of it. I meant, well,
Okay.
maybe some people do. They don't want to incarnate here anymore. Maybe they don't want to come back. But I meant more hack out of the programming, the collective trance. And that is literally like a program. And they lock you in there and throw away the key. So the hacking the matrix is more like breaking the
But
programming.
they lock you in there and throw away the key. That no, they can't. They cannot do that unless you've allowed that. This is super important to understand.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay?
But the
Right?
thing
We
is, a
can.
lot of times people don't realize they allowed it. They're in it.
Okay,
There's
so then you
layers.
have to tell them. You have to say it straight up to their face. You allowed it, but not go and say you did this. You're a blame. You're this because I had that run on me, and that's exactly what a lot of the inverted things
Exactly.
of religions will do, especially when you bring up trauma, especially when you bring sexual abuse into it. Because guess what? They're gonna run away from it as much as possible because they know they've got some guilt in there. They know they haven't stood up
Exactly.
for the child, stood up for the woman, stood up
And
for the man. Do you know how many? There are more men, young boys and men who have been molested and raped in the military. Holy
oh, yeah.
Lord.
Well, it's institutionalized over there as well, and we can get into Michael Aquino and LaVey and how they're tied in with both the military industrial complex and the entertainment industrial complex that go backwards and forwards. And Aquino was known to in the San Francisco Presidio military base, just as a matter of course, as part of his conveyor belt, child torture factory, just constantly torturing and raping the kids of the personnel, the people who worked there. It was like a daycare on the base, and he was torturing the kids of the personnel there. And
So that this is where it's so hard because that we're even discussing this, that that there was a timeline that was allowed to continue. Whereas the moment anyone would know that, who has any glimpse of truth of themselves, that would stop. That timeline would end right there because we would not allow that kind of evil to be perpetuated. But think about how many have let that happen in that location. And then we're talking about it and naming their names.
yeah, we know who
That's
they
the
are.
sickness.
Well,
That's the
do you
sickness though.
exactly?
Why aren't they? Why haven't they been skinned alive and literally
They were not. In fact, they were taken to court and he lied about everything in court, defended himself. Obviously, his wife was also there. He was never prosecuted. He was never charged for anything. They got away with everything. And on top of that, they started a rumor there was all just satanic panic. Oh, it's just kids like trying to get attention. Or they're crazy kids, or they're just trying to smear me. So he blamed the kids and the families saying they're just crazy and it's satanic panic. And he got away with it.
well, there's no getting away with it. You and I both know that. There's no getting
Oh,
away with
yeah,
it. And
karmically for
he
sure.
will, oh, well, not even karmically. He's created this. He will have to and is and will face because just the law of nature. There is no way. People think, oh, well, nope, it will happen. And there's not God punishment. He will.
We,
Not he as he,
yeah,
but the consciousness.
we haven't
Because
seen it though. I know exactly what you're saying, and I want to believe that's true, and I do it at some level. But to be honest with you, we have not yet seen it. We have not yet seen those mass arrests we were promised. We have not seen the mass prosecutions with all the truth
I
coming
don't
out.
know that we're going to see it on this plane. I wish, because I think there should be absolute radical
Well, this is where the trauma is. We gotta see.
vigilantes
We have to see
out
it.
there making things, standing up and saying, that's it. This is the battlefield I'm dying on because I
Yeah,
will
I
stand for this no longer.
I think we have to.
Let's get the children equipped with the shotguns and knowing exactly, let's get them equipped so they know exactly how to protect themselves.
And of course,
And
they're against that too. They're saying kids are going to kill everybody. All these kids are killing other kids, and that. So, but regarding the
so forget the gun. Let's do something where someone touches them and they can zap them. The grooming that goes on, the inversion that goes on, and by the time that a child is groomed, they already are confused because they don't have the capacity to actually process any of this. And I could of course say, where the hell are the parents? Where the hell are the people that need to be taking care of these
well, a lot
children?
of times the parents don't believe it's going on because they don't understand it. This is what I real,
So
this is what I
they don't
realized,
understand it, or they're selling their kids.
or they're selling
That's
it.
the other thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
that goes on absolutely. But a
but
lot of
ignoring
times,
them
you
and
know what
sticking them into a school, it's like,
what I realized is because both the idea of God and the devil, the good and evil, in the spiritual sense, was eliminated out of our education society for a very long time, and even in church, and even in churches, they have
yeah,
language
it's
models
completely
about.
inverted.
Yeah, they have language models about it, they have theology about it, but no one really has a deep spiritual personal understanding of it. So a lot of times when they encounter evil, they don't recognize what they're looking at, and they like
Right.
literally it's in front of them. They just
Yeah.
don't see it.
You're exactly right. And I remember, if you know anything about Rudolf Steiner, right? So Steiner, and I raised my boys from the understanding of what I was reading with regards to Waldorf before it got hacked. Waldorf and what Rudolf Steiner was talking about with regards to the soul. Our children are disconnected from their soul at the get-go. That's why I had my boys at home. That's why I said no to a lot of the BS when the assembly line was going for, you're pregnant, here's the assembly line, you just follow this. No, right? So you can just see how they start to strip the connections.
Yeah, the birthing
I
process, the vaccines, the medications, the
I feel like,
schools, the lights,
yeah, I
the
don't want to get
courts.
into a whole complaint fest because I don't think that's useful. But wow, yeah, I mean, I could rant and I could complain, but is it useful at the end of the day? So
Well,
tell
look
me
at the
what you want to
fact.
know about and how I can best support you, your listeners,
I'm
anyone
not
who's.
against rants. I'm not against it because sometimes they're accurate. It's like, is it factual or is it, if it's a fact, like, okay, so it comes out in the form of a rant, fine. But if it's a fact, we got to look at the fact, right? Because, and sometimes observations can be very accurate. You create a lot of videos, and a very long time ago, I saw a video where you were talking about trauma. I'm like, oh, that's unusual. A lot of times people think they have to stay in quote unquote their own lane, their box. So if I'm talking about entrepreneurship, I can't talk about trauma. If I talk about trauma, I can't talk about like success. It's almost like they want you to either identify as a victor or a victim. If you're a survivor of something, that's your message. They put you in that box. You're a survivor of. Now you're entirely defined by your abuser, essentially. And if you're talking about entrepreneurship, you have that victim language. We can't talk about trauma and abuse. And I wanted to say how actually it's in reality, it's exactly the opposite. And how do women become successful? And yes, men too, but I want to talk about women in this particular episode because that's my experience and that's your experience. And that's why it's so valuable because we're talking from experience, not just books, not because we took a weekend workshop. We didn't become neurodivergent because we took a weekend workshop on how to be neurodivergent. We had to survive and we had to thrive and we had to become successful despite all the obstacles and healing our own trauma. And that's how we became neurodivergent. And I want to say that a lot of times women see all these bad things that happen to them. That's like a detriment. It's a challenge. It's an impediment. It's a disability. But I want to say that once you heal it, actually that neurodivergence that you've developed that seems to be a byproduct of everything you went through, actually, that's your gold because it allows you to be a really brilliant problem solver of non-standard problems. And as an entrepreneur, you're facing non-standard problems all day long. It's not like when you go to work and you have specific tasks assigned to you, you are replaceable. They can train lots of other people to do exactly what you do. Your creativity is not necessary. But if you're doing anything independently, independent of the systems, if you really want to be sovereign, you have to be extremely creative. You have to solve your own problems. You have to find a way where other people just don't see a way. And neurodivergence really helps with that. What I wanted to also say that in the past, a lot of time, women were not able to use this gold, use their neurodivergence to move forward, is because they could not, first of all, they could not talk about what happened to them. There was massive stigma. Like just recently, I was watching this video, this documentary about a supermodel from the 90s, I think. And she was on the cover of everything. She was making $10,000 a day, which by our standards is $20,000 a day. And then on national live television, she started to talk about how she was raped, and it was politicians, it was all of these CEOs, it was all these people in the industry, it was police officers, it was a massive network, it was a cult. She exposed everything in like a 2-minute reel. And she was shut down. She was told she was crazy. Her manager basically arrested her, had her arrested and sent to a mental institution. She was drugged and held there for like 3 to 4 months. The tape, the original tape, was destroyed, and they just said, oh, she was on drugs and she was unhinged. She just went crazy. So women were labeled as crazy, on drugs, unhinged. Stress got to her, all that fame got to her. She had too much to drink, and it all got shelved. But no, what she said was facts. And now,
Who is this? Which model is this?
oh, I forget her name. I can look it up and I can tell you because I'm not too
It's
much
not
into.
Paulina, was it?
What's her last name?
Paulina Porskova? I
No,
don't think it was her.
but I think there were a few women who tried. See, that's the thing. A few women tried, failed. No one heard them. Well, maybe they didn't fail, right? Because that message eventually got to us.
So you're taught to be quiet about it, okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to name names here, but there were multiple recognizable names who casting directors, agents would be hired to bring in models for these, and they would be escorts, right? I auditioned for an A-list actor to be the escort or whatever. I mean, that's the whole industry. It's a game. They set these up, and you're basically,
Supermodel
it's
Karen Mulder.
very, very
Sorry, I
manipulating.
looked it
Yeah.
up.
Oh,
Her name
good.
is Karen Mulder, and the video is Darkest
Oh,
Tragedy of the True Supermodel, Karen Mulder.
mm.
She was basically all the biggest brands out there, Vogue. I can't remember them all because I'm not into that culture. But yeah, if you're making $20,000 a day by our standards, that's why the other women basically they would just shut up. They were like, take the money and shut up. Like, why are you talking?
No, I don't. They wouldn't necessarily say that.
No, but it said in the video, some of them did. Some
Some
of
of
them
the
like
models just said, take the money and shut up. Well,
basically
and some of them, you can look at them now and see how messed up they are, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know, but a few personally that I'm still connected with. And in the 80s, that's when I went to New York City. I was 16 when I went to model in New York City, and then was doing, same stuff. It's you are a piece of meat. That industry is your piece of meat. They own your body. Lots of parents like that. My parents were not like that. They didn't sell me or want that. I wanted it. I had teen magazines and Glamour and Vogue, stacks of them from the time I was 12. I'd been practicing makeup and wanted that so much. So for me, I was like, yes, bring it on. I'm 16. I can do this. I'm going to go and do that in New York. But at 16, you are young. You want the attention. You want it, not necessarily sexually, but once that happens, then it's just you just be quiet about it. You just shut the f up, and you push through the day, and then sooner or later it starts to eat you alive from the inside out. And if you do not handle it, it is very, very destructive. I think Kathy O'Brien from MK Ultra is the best work on the trauma that I've seen. I went to my church to see if I could get help, and they basically said it was my fault. So
can
that's
I
why you have
can
to
I
be really
speak?
careful. Yeah.
I want to let you finish, but I want to speak to that's very important. It's critical. And I wanted to get into that. So there's another video that I saw, a supermodel who fell 9 stories after visiting Epstein. She was from Ukraine, can't remember her name. Also very young, like at 16, she started modeling. At
Hmm.
20, she suicided herself. We don't know.
Hmm.
It's a mystery, right?
She
She
probably said no. She probably said no to the whatever, and she probably had enough of her own soul essence that she said "F you" and the horse you rode in on, buddy. And then she was taken out with the
very,
handlers and thrown
very
out the
likely,
window,
very
right?
likely, very likely,
Because
yeah,
you
because
shut your
she was
mouth.
very far away from the building, and so people suspect, well, it looks like someone threw her out.
Hmm.
Like she didn't just fall down. But
Hmm.
what's important about her in that particular documentary is that there's all these now cults all around the globe, kind of like Nexium, that portray themselves as women empowerment groups or just in general empowerment and success groups.
Hmm.
And we have to make this video because there's so many of them now, and a lot
Hmm.
of them use popular new age language like the law of attraction and
Hmm.
just success language. It's
Hmm.
for young women who are entrepreneurs. So
Hmm.
so she was dating somebody who told her go to this group. I forget what it's called, Rose, like Pink Rose, or I can't remember, but it's in Ukraine. We don't have it here. We have
Hmm.
other ones worse because they're always so money oriented. So she went to this group with her friend, and they both joined that cult. I don't think they knew it was a cult. Obviously, she was told it was going to help her with her mind because she was starting to get depressed because she was
Hmm.
starting to get trafficked in these groups. Because after
Hmm.
Epstein, she went to Epstein Island. After that, she was not the same. She started to
Hmm.
get depressed, and that's why her boyfriend said, "Go to this group." So in this group, they told her, "Whatever it is that happens to you, it's your fault. You were trafficked, it's your fault. You're
Yep.
depressed, it's your fault.
Yep.
You're on drugs, it's your what anything."
Hmm.
So this is where I'm all about radical responsibility. But when you have a suffering victim who
Hmm.
is clearly being handled and abused in ways they can't even comprehend, telling them that's their fault, that's a lie. That's actually not
It's
true.
just one more piece of the way they invert things. I'm late 50s now, okay? And in the 80s, when I was modeling, I was able to keep a facade for a long time, multiple rapes, multiple not cool things that the agents, they send you to the photographers, they send you to the people, and you just do what you do. You do what you need to do. The decades of me trying to heal myself, I have been through the gamut. And the best way I know how is I don't go to anybody, I don't talk to anybody about it. I go in and I work on myself from the inside out. Now, it took me a long time to get there because it was too dark for me to confront myself, right? I needed to figure that out. So that's the only reason I do. I mean, I don't necessarily speak about this publicly because that's not the platform. You were talking about how niche and how do you talk about trauma or talk about entrepreneurship? Well, it's like you said, you speak your truth, and those that you're here to help or that will resonate, they'll resonate and they'll reach out to you, right? I had a 60-some-year-old man knock on my door after a podcast I did specifically talking about when you are holding on weight and you can't drop the weight 30, 40 years and you've tried everything, every diet in the book, blah, blah, blah. It might be that there is stuck trauma, right? And then I went on to tell other things. And this is 2015 when I finished and published my book, Finding Joy Beyond Trauma. I interviewed over 400 people, men and women, who were sexually abused, who had severe trauma, not just sexual abuse, but trauma around these pieces. 100 of the stories got in the book, and then I created the solutions, or basically strategies for thriving, is what was the culmination of what I wanted to try to put out there. And out of that, what I realized is that there's no one way, but it's definitely not from outside in. And so all the religions, all the whatever, you cannot, but the first thing is you yourself have to become aware. And that's the first, I mean, literally, that is the first place is you have to become aware. So the 5 steps I talk about in the book, first, number one, you have to become aware. And that's layers, layers. But the second, then you have to be able to imagine something better, but actually be able to assimilate what happened because most of the time we're blocking it out. Most of the time we're lying about it. So then the third is you have to then be able to focus, because a lot of times when you have been drugged through the process, you have been tortured, tormented through the process, you cannot focus. Your mind cannot focus. It splits. You split, meaning literally split, because you go out of the body. You have to do whatever you can because it's too much for the mind. So you split. So you have to be able to come back to focus. And then the number one for me was, I said you have to get the right support, because so much we say religion and this and this. For me, none of those were the right support. And so you have to know what the right support is. And then from there, you release what's not working and you reinforce what does. And you repeat that process. Awareness, imagination. You have to come back to being able to imagine something, reclaim that ability, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're conscious creators. And our ability is to imagine. But we have been so programmed, conditioned, lied to. We've got so many false things taking our attention. We don't even know what is real anymore. And then that's why we have to focus. We practice the focus, get the right support. I mean, this is what I came up in 2015 to basically save my life, right? I was trying to be a good mom. What's interesting is my facade was, I'm a good mom. I'm going to be a good mom. I'm going to be a good wife. But my kids picked up on the incoherence in my heart. And so now I get to see this and work with them, and they get to understand, because I am transparent with them and have been since as much as I could day one, because I was really, it's like I didn't know that my incoherency would basically that they would pick up on that. But think about it. You know this because you're a mom. Your infant, they didn't have words. So what were they picking up on? Your energy field. So even though you're like smiling, having dinner on the table, doing everything, everything's nice and wonderful. And inside, you are in terror. You are in revulsion. You are in hatred. You are in all of these that's what's living. That's what they're getting. So they're confused. I mean, that's the work now that I see has to be done. And you talk about neurodivergence. Well, let's look at the nervous system. Let's look at the systems and how dysregulated we've become and disconnected from that. And so neuro just means mind, and divergent means it's just going off. Okay, so they've made this neurodivergent word, and now it's all these words and labels again, which are just layers of lies on the truth. Because what's the truth? It's just, here's the wholeness and here's not wholeness, right? It's either truth or lie. So we can label it, and that's just another layer of a lie on there. And that's why it has to come back to the individual doing the work. And that's the great work. That's the one great work that we have to do day in, day out. And we have our work cut out for us, because there are folks working 24/7 to keep the facade going, keep this false consciousness going, keep this false ideologies, all of these false ideologies that are going on. And it's mind control.
Absolutely. Well, these loops, and you very accurately showed it what it is. These loops, they're literally, and there's a concept of mental loops. People get stuck in these mental loops, and they're constantly reinforced through these occult rituals, through programming, through media. And that's what I meant when I said hacking the matrix, is like snapping out of these loops into a leap into what's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to the idea of why do some women succeed and some not? And this is not to blame anybody, right? I'm not trying, but let me ask the question. Hold on.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the idea here is, I'm not trying to blame somebody and say, well, why did you fail? It's more like trying to help women who are maybe having a hard time, right? So the reason I say that is because, so for a long time, maybe I sought help, but I was not able to find the type of people amongst therapists or social workers or psycho. I went through a couple of different ringers, the medical ringer, the new age ringer, the religious ringer, and I kept encountering little minds, people who only knew their small part because everything's so compartmentalized. And when you've been traumatized by some of the most brilliant people on the planet with very high IQs systematically, and I myself, I'm not, my IQ is not shabby. So when you have a very large problem to deal with and your trauma is multidimensional and you're coming across small minds who can't even comprehend the problem, much less offer a solution, I suspect that this is why a lot of women aren't able to get the help that they need because the professionals whose job it is to help people can't understand what they're dealing with. They can't see it, they don't grasp it. It may take them a couple of decades of studying it to even understand what's going on. And in that sense, all the stuff that's coming out now, even though a lot of people are like vomiting right now because they're seeing all this stuff for the first time. I knew about all this for a very long time, but I'm glad it's out. But in a way, it's almost like they just sort of dumped all the stuff on everybody all at once, and people are checking out and they can't handle it and they're just vomiting. And in a way, it's a little bit non-constructive. I wish
I'm
they
not
didn't.
sure what specifically you're talking about. I know for the new age folks that heard about Deepak Chopra. I mean, anyone who's connected to their own soul could look at that and know who he was from the get-go. That it was like, these guys that are put out there mainstream and are bubblegum new age gurus. There's something wrong. So who specifically are you
So
talking
all
about?
the Epstein files, they're a massive dump on people.
Mhm.
But so it's like people are having to process this all at once. It's I forget there's a psychological term for this when they're doing it in a way on purpose so that people check out, so they
Of
can't handle it,
course, of
right?
course.
So
And so here's what I would say. I'll let you ask your question.
well, my point was that it's almost like the entire system is set up so that the people whose job it is officially in the system, the social workers, the therapists, the clinicians, whose job it is to help victims, cannot help them. They don't have the tools, they don't have the
Well, you
understanding, they don't
just
have the
said
knowledge,
that. You just said it.
right?
The system, all the therapists, all the social workers in the system. Okay. What's the source of that system? It is what created the lies and the chaos. So it is only going to create and perpetuate more of that. That whole system was set up to destroy the family and destroy wholeness. You look at that and there are so many that can say, because I was there, I'm a social worker. All I want to do is help. And you're order followers. You're order followers. You go to caseworkers, someone makes a phone call, and you go to someone's house and you knock on the door and you tell that mother you're going to go in and you want to look at those children. And it's like, this is unacceptable. This is a sickness. And until each of us owns our own thoughts and leads our own emotions and leads where our attention goes, we will be in the same shit show over and over and over again. Government's not going to come and save you. Have you not figured that out yet? Religion is not going to come and save you. Have you not figured that out yet? Okay, same thing. It is you, my dear. You are the one. So go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror and you tell that woman or that man, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you for holding me and being here. I love you. Let's get to fucking work because that is what has to happen.
I know,
Look,
no, but it works.
but you have to do that for yourself. And until you do, every time you reach for your phone and scroll to look at something to escape or watch a movie or read a book that's an escape, because that's what I used. I had thousands and thousands of books that was my escape, thousands and thousands of videos that were my escape because I couldn't confront and go look at the woman in the mirror, go look at the girl in the mirror. But now I do every single day. That's the first thing I do is I go look in the mirror and I look at the truth. And can I tell her the truth? If I can't, that's where I need to start. And that's what I tell my clients. Some of them can do that. Some of them can look at them in the mirror. And then some of them have work to do on that. And that's okay because I have the work to do to myself as well.
Yeah,
And but it's not going to be religion or social workers. That's nonsense. And as much as I want to think, because look, I was a volunteer minister. I volunteered for the Houston Police Department. I was on multiple major volunteer and as an ordained minister, and going into these places and trying to help and trying to do good. The good that you can do is if you see the harm, you freaking stop it. I didn't. I mean, I saw the end result of it. I was at the funerals. I was overseeing and talking to the spouses and the leftovers and trying to pick up the pieces instead of going, no way, I'm going to stand up. And if this is going to cost my life, you can better believe I'm going out with a bang because I am going to bring this down. I didn't have the balls to do that.
Mm. Well, mo
I
yeah,
didn't,
most people don't.
right?
That's the thing. So that's actually something I wanted to get into because from my own experience and from my clients' experience, because I've helped lots of clients in the past who were dealing with some sort of either a Keno type of situation or a cult, New Age cult type of situation, or just straight up
A what
demonic
type of situation? A
Aquino,
Kino?
yeah, like Michael Aquino, like a
Oh,
military style,
gotcha.
my
Yeah.
lab or abductions,
Yeah.
and or satanic ritual abuse due to some kind of cults, and almost never they just want out and then they're quiet. They just want out and they're so
Right.
damaged they don't want to
It
talk about what
takes
they were.
time. It takes time. So give yourself time to calm your nervous system. It took me over 20 years to be able to speak about the escaping. Okay. And I don't say escaping anymore because you have, hindsight and you're able to see things differently. But at the time, it was all you can do to quietly depart, to quietly extricate yourself out of there and use lots of excuses, lots of
Well,
things.
some
Like,
people can't,
oh, whatever.
and some people
Uh,
cannot extricate. They're followed and they're erased because
right,
they know too
right,
much.
right.
So
Unfortunately. So then, like the gal that made the videos, Victoria, what was the
Jeffrey,
beautiful blonde? Yeah. So she put out the work. People saw it. This isn't the work I'm here to do. I'm not here to go and expose and put out that. I am here to help heal, to inspire, and to create. That I know. Okay. That I have enormous empathy because I have personal experience is I do honor that as a gift. Would I prefer to have not had that? I mean, yeah, even just discussing this, it is, it's turns it, my stomach goes through its, my body goes through its
very raw.
convulsions. And yeah, of course, it's retracing a lot of those patterns, no matter how much work you do.
That's right.
So I there was time. That's why I wrote the book Finding Joy Beyond Trauma. That's why I went, because at first I thought I was the only one. And then I started talking to
And
people, and then
everyone thinks that.
right, which is so dangerous. And
Mhm.
that's why I used to say, number one, you're not the only one, and it's not your fault. First, you're not alone, and it's not your fault. You're not alone, and it's not your fault. And I would repeat that over and over. I spoke over 1,000 times in less than a 2-year period of time. So I was speaking at every library. I just went out and spoke. And I would open up with look to your right, look to your left. 1 in 3 women have been sexually abused. At the time, it was 6 in 10 men. I don't know what it is now. That's a pretty high statistic. So if you look to your right and you look to your left and you're in the center, one of the 3 of you have been sexually abused. Now, I would go and put out, this is time when Meetup was really popular. I would go and I had a little Meetup, Finding Joy Beyond Trauma, and I would have people come that it was confidential, it was safe, and I would have all ages. I'd have mothers and their family, 10-year-olds, and it wasn't 1 in 3. Every single one of them,
That's something.
or the mom was there with the dot and they didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
And because I was on the radio every day, I was speaking every day about this things just came out of the woodwork. Now it was quiet, right? It was quiet because I was doing the work because I had to really save myself.
Hmm.
Because if I could help anyone outside of me, I knew I could help myself because I couldn't confront my own stuff. I could not.
Well,
It was
sometimes we
too
need each other
painful.
to heal. Sometimes it's like
A
a,
hundred percent.
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
it does work like that.
But not in this, I'm going to fix you and these are my tools. Like, nope. The first thing that I knew was I had to become aware and I had to look at the 2 things. One, that I wasn't alone. Oh my gosh, that was the biggest realization because that belief that I was alone led me to believe that I was the biggest piece of shit out there, that I was not worthy, that I didn't deserve anything, that I was all the things that they say to you while they're abusing you and taking you and doing and basically doing trauma and crime against your body and your, I want to say more than just your body, because of course it's your mind.
It's
They
everything.
couldn't
It's
touch my soul,
your body.
but at the time I didn't
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
right? So it took me a long time because I did have a belief that I was broken, but I had a strong enough spirit that the spirit was pulling me along. It's like, okay, all right, here we go. But you go through it and it's interesting how the energy of the body, because the body keeps score, right? There's a great book on that.
Oh, yes.
And the whole body, the spine, everything keeps score. And it's interesting to see now as I've aged that my body, how much it is deteriorated,
Mm.
not because I've done physical beating up, but it's like, wow. And so the books that I really like, I don't know enough about the truth of Louise Hay, but I really am grateful for the work she did. And I love Carol Truman's book, Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die. I think it is a must have for any man, woman, or child. They need to have Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die on their bookshelf. That was the turning point for me. And then Louise Hay, lovely work because she did the work. She went through it and did the work, and then you can start to see what's showing up in your body. And I would say you have to do baby steps and not think you're done. Like, check it off your checklist. It's never going to be something you check off your checklist. Sorry. I wish that were the case. I wish I could just come out shiny and new and be all beautiful and everything be clean and right. It's not going to happen. So, and that's where we try and put on facades, or if you're doing it intentionally, that's one thing. But if you go in and you try and have all this face work done and surgery and Botox and all of that because you're trying to cover something up, that's when I think the ugliness starts to come out even more, because that's the whole, that's what's your freaking body's trying to tell you something, honey. That type of thing, right? Your soul is trying to tell you something. You're trying to cover it up, and it's sooner or later your body, your mind, your heart, your soul is going to say, wake up. Because you have to, and only you can wake up. Someone else can't do it for you.
Well, all that is true. So Ho'oponopono is a beautiful technique. I practice it. I like it. And it's not shallow. Ho'oponopono can be very, very
It's
deep.
beautiful, very
Yeah,
powerful.
it's a very beautiful Hawaiian shamanic methodology. So that's all that's there. And there's and actually anything to do with physical fitness is very healing for a body that was damaged, actually. So, but getting into
As long as you're not beating yourself
oh,
up,
yeah, 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 of
because
course,
yeah,
obviously,
yep,
right, right. So, but getting into, for example, cases where, like Kathy O'Brien, she talked about how Mark had to give her codes because the way these cults are designed, they're well-designed systems. Like I said, they're
right,
designed by some of the most brilliant people on the planet. Yeah, they're evil, but they're very highly intelligent in how they
yes,
design trauma. None of it is
yes.
haphazard.
And they start very
They
early.
start very
You
early.
look at Obama, how long was he being programmed from the beginning, from day one,
Well, all of
right?
them. That's the thing. All
Yeah,
of these
all of them.
people in
Yeah,
politics and that certain class of society, they're all
yeah.
basically programmed by these different groups. It was so intelligent. Their trauma and their programming and their shutdown was so intelligently designed that a lot of times these beautiful practices, beautiful as they are, they only touch the surface. They don't really break through the programming. And I want to say that I don't want to say it's not possible for a person to heal themselves on their own. Maybe it's possible, but it's very unlikely. So even though everything you're saying is true, that's just the beginner steps. When we're talking about really deep trauma, or like we're talking about military grade trauma, where like
Mhm.
an entire think tank worked on a person, just standing in front of the mirror saying, I love you, I love myself.
Oh,
People,
no, no, that's just the step,
we
right?
got
That's
to
just
get into
awareness.
it.
But
Yeah, that's just
you have
that's
to
just the first
recognize
it's just
for
the
the
first step.
first,
And maybe that's the
yeah.
foundation, but okay, how do we get into
I
the
think that's the turning point. That's the turning point because when you're constantly looking outside of yourself and you can't confront yourself, but that is the turning point. That is the turning point, is that you can go look in the mirror and go, okay, I'm
so
here.
what are
I'm
the
here for you.
deeper tools that you're aware of? What deeper because obviously you have the deeper tools because you did it. You're very successful. You're very functional.
I have over 100 certifications myself. Can you believe it? I have over 100 certifications.
Yeah, I have a few as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, do they mean anything at this point? it's not about the certifications
Well,
or the
tools, I didn't
training.
mean
It's about,
certifications, but what I meant
yeah,
tools is the tools that you've actually used to heal yourself,
I'm
official or
still
not.
using them every single day. So I think we all go through phases. I really love my time where I am sitting. I definitely think food is huge, nourishment, and making sure that make sure that body of yours is not sucking energy of all your trauma. So I don't recommend going on diets or fasts or all kinds of things because you need energy. And so I would say, I mean, if a client came to me and I do bioavailable and biodynamic, I'm always looking at what's bioavailable for their body. Fat is number one. Okay. Fat is the thing that I think they were able to take away. I was on a fat-free diet since I was 8, 9, 10. And then for the next 20, 30 years, and I was a vegan. I nearly killed myself. That was the first pieces. I had to start fixing my body because my body was so malnourished. And so you're going to have to eat, but I'm not going to tell you what diet you should be eating. You need to figure that out for yourself. And yes, you can get help, myself or Ariel or, a good holistic health practitioner who understands bioavailability and then teaches you that and educates you on how to nourish your body, because that's something you have to do every day. Then you have to do the other basics. The sleep is really important. I was not a good sleeper for a long time. Why? Well, why do you think? My bed was never a safe place. I'd wake up in night terrors and all of that. So I had to regulate a completely dysregulated nervous system. So that's a piece. You're going to have to look for yourself. I used to think breathing is a really important thing, but I've been through countless clients where we do breath work and they are holding their breath because they're stuck in a trauma state. So if we do practicing of box breath and we're holding, and what do they teach? To hold your breath, be calm while you're holding your breath. Guess what you're doing? You're taking your nervous system and you're triggering it. You're taking your parasympathetic nervous system offline. And you're telling your sympathetic nervous system, you're an emergency. Don't forget, you're an emergency right now. You get prepared. So it's never going to be a one size fits all. You have to take all the tools that you have, work with a really competent practitioner that's caring and that you trust and that you have a strong foundation with, and then you build together your specific toolbox. I talk about how my toolbox we may have similar things in there. Lots of people who do breath work and they have this and they have nutrition and they have tapping, or they have, EMDR, they have rapid eye therapy. So we have this toolbox and we have all these tools in there, but those tools might look different in your toolbox. And we're probably going to sharpen different tools for you. And that's what's really important. I think that you work individually with people. You do screens. I used to use the Zytoscan and I used to scan and I used to do a galvanic skin response. So I look at all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at their soul and I'm looking at, I mentioned human design before. I think human design is very useful, but it is not the end all be all. Just like astrology, now there's trauma-informed therapy or cognitive therapy. When that's all that's the tool you used. I was trained originally in cognitive therapy, tens of thousands of hours in that. That is not the only tool, and that is a long road to hoe with cognitive therapy. Okay. There are many other faster tools out there. So you just have to become aware. You're not alone. It's not your fault. And then you take the next step. I try not to take myself so seriously because I think that this world is already, at the end of the day, this isn't all there is. This is literally just a place. It's just a construct. And this construct has been made to have a whole the architecture, and it's been architected to be a certain way. And most of it's lies. I would say over 80% certainly are lies and fabrications.
I'll just
So
be honest with you. I think 100% is lies. I'm at that point where 100% is
then
lies.
that's where you have to then start to find out for the truth, because the only thing that's going to set you free is the truth.
The
Okay.
truth, and it's deep within you. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's fluffy. I think like mastering the basics, we can't overstate mastering the basics. A lot of people want to do all these advanced tools, but bringing them back to the basics, just master the
Yep.
basics every day, every
Yep.
day.
That's right.
So what I wanted to
That's the
also
work. Chop wood, carry water. If you want that, that's
Absolutely.
what it is. Yes.
Exactly. So you mentioned trust. So let me present this to you, right? Because this is a huge problem. As I see it, it's a massive problem in today's society, the lack of trust. I don't think it was that it was always kind of bad in terms of when it comes to unusual holistic spiritual things, but it's the worst that I've ever seen it. And partly it's because a lot of times when people were abused, they were abused multiple times by people who were supposed to help them, so they don't trust anybody.
Hmm.
Two, all this, everything has gotten so complicated in general that people just don't trust what they see. There's been so many scams just in general, any field you name, so many
Hmm.
scams, so many frauds. Um, so many unreliable people, even in my profession. I hate to say it
Yes.
because I'm not one of the
No, you're
unreliable
right.
people,
I know.
but I've
Yeah.
seen so much, especially like these psychics who are like, oh, you got negative energy, pay me $5,000 and I'll remove it. I hate that stuff. But there's, and I don't know if people are still falling for that crap. I never did any, I offered real help, but unfortunately, once people have been burned by that a few times, or they went to different doctors and the doctors ruined their health, they don't want to go to anybody anymore, even if
Hmm.
there are good people. And I
Hmm.
know all of my clients, like all of my reviews, those are real. Those are real people. There's no Photoshop, there's no AI. Those stories are real. But when people read it, they almost can't believe it because they've been damaged so much by their own families, by themselves, by doctors, by different medical fields, by
Hmm.
experts, expert advice. They followed expert advice and it hurt them, or they took supplements and it seemed to not do anything, that they just don't trust anybody anymore. The loss of trust
The
line
deficit. Yeah.
deficit,
It's a
the trust
deficit
deficit,
for
the
sure.
trust
Yeah.
deficit is so massive. Some people don't have a bridge. They don't have it. Like it used to be, somebody was a bridge. Your aunt, your sister, your somebody in your family, some friend would come to you
So
and say, "Let."
you have to be your own bridge. I know that's hard, but until you get that, and if you keep searching for something outside of you, a solution, a person, a thing, a course, a program, a diet, a pill, a vitamin, a potion, a food, you are going to probably get what you believe, which is, I've been burned so many times, you're probably going to be burned again. It never works for me, probably never going to work for you. So at you have to look at your own beliefs and you have to do the inner work. Some people call it the shadow work. I used to work out because it saved my sanity, but I wasn't doing the working in. So I wasn't balanced. Now I start with the working in part. And we do the working in and we do the working out and we balance it. And that's where I would suggest that you look from there. And at the same time, look where your compass is set. So if your compass or thermostat, right? If your set point is at I don't believe anything anymore, I can't trust anybody, that's your set point. So you can expect that that's the result or that's going to come back to you, okay? So you're going to have to shift your set point to be it's possible. It's possible. And that's why I said the second point was imagination. You have to use your imagination and imagine that something else is possible. Something else is different than this current pain, suffering, misery, trauma, um, whatever it is you're going through, disbelief. I can't, you're going to have to use the greatest power you have, which is to imagine something better. And it has to come from you creating from the inside out and imagining. I'm not telling you to lie, I'm telling you to imagine. So practice imagining something better, even if it's a baby step. I'm not asking you to do a major jump, just a small thing. Let me go look at some of these reviews that Ariel said she has. Okay, now let me imagine myself being in one of these people results. Is that no? That's too big of a jump. Okay, let me imagine that maybe I could have a conversation with someone, and I could imagine that it might go well. Could I imagine that? Maybe. And then you practice it, right? And then from there, you start to focus on what you want. A lot of people are focusing on what they don't want, they can't have, they what they did wrong, what's wrong with them, all of that. So we have to change the focus, right? And then from there, you're able to see and dial in the right support. And the right support may look like going and getting yourself a grass-fed steak, medium rare to raw, and eating it, right? Or scooping some fat bombs to rebuild your brain, because probably your brain, especially if you're not firing and the synapses are not wired right, then start nourishing your brain and your body, hydrating, right? Doing something that takes some of the edge off so that your body, which is like your vehicle, right? The batteries are arcing. You turn over the alternator and it's starting the engine. Most people are not even able to start the engine. They're just dumping in something like nitro so that they can get a little further, and then their vehicle dies again. I mean, this is, you'd think it's common sense now, but it's not. People are just stupid with their own bodies and they try the next thing instead of really the simple things. My physical body needs nourishment and sleep and movement and hydration and rest, right? It's like, come on.
I want to talk about trust more, but I feel like that we can talk about that for like 5 hours. It's such a big topic.
What specifically do you want to know about trust? Is there a question?
Yeah, well, so what I observed is that in general, so like for example, I deal a lot with the people in the community who were part of the secret space program, the super soldier programs, my labs. I mean, we're talking about industrial level, military grade abuse where they had 20 in backs, they have handlers, multiple handlers. They're usually part of a family line. It's extremely complicated.
Yeah.
So some of them do find therapists to work with. A lot of them are so broke all the time because they're not money oriented. They're not trying to be
Right,
executives.
right, right.
They don't
Yep.
have them. Holistic stuff is expensive because we don't take insurance. It
Mm.
really genuinely
So,
helps.
so hang on. Let me just say, I don't think wellness or um, holistic health is expensive. Think
Well,
about the
holistic doctors
of
are very expensive. Like $300 per visit, plus another
that's
1,000 for
nothing.
labs. Oh yeah, yeah.
Take
I'm
five
saying
da 5 days in an allopathic hospital
I'm not saying it's
and
not
come out
worth
with
it.
$500,000.
Oh, totally. I'm
Okay.
not saying a hundred
So
percent.
we got
I'm
to
a hundred
shift our
percent.
perspective.
I'm a
Okay.
hundred percent on that.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not worth it. And yes, absolutely true.
It's just like, where do you get your money if you don't have it?
If people go to a regular conventional, when I say allopathic, they don't know what I'm talking about. Allopathic
Okay.
just means regular, standard, conventional. When you go to a conventional doctor and you have cancer, you're going to lose your entire life savings. Yes, half a
Yeah.
million dollars, and it's not cured, and you're probably still going to get it again, and
Yeah.
most
It's the
likely you're
blind leading the blind there for
absolutely.
sure. So,
No,
yeah.
but in terms of like a regular person who's on a fixed income, some of them are on disability, some of them do have jobs, but
Okay.
right. So the point is to them, they would say, oh, it's expensive. And that's what I always, you're expensive. I'm like, well, but in comparison to what? So my point is like,
Right.
if you have to spend, let's say $20,000, but you really are helped, they may not have the 20,000. They just don't have it. Right.
Yeah.
So the point I was making was that because they are usually broke, very unfortunately. They don't have the money. Even
Who's they? They that want to
this
come in.
community that I'm talking about, the community of people I mentioned that I deal with a lot, who were part of the secret space program or the super soldier programs, they usually experience my lab military abduction when they were a child. They're
Mhm.
usually part of bloodlines, so they're usually multi-generational abuse. They're
Yeah,
not
and they're in confusion. I mean, they're literally in confusion.
when they're
Their
children.
nervous system,
When they're
even
children.
as an adult, they come out of that, and their nervous system doesn't know how to function to put themselves out there to sell a service that they could get money for as an entrepreneur would,
I don't think they
because
want
it's
to.
so inverted, so
I
they
don't
don't
think they
even
want.
know
I don't think
because
they
it's
want to. I think sometimes they don't want to. They're not money oriented.
and it's not money. But here's the thing: in society, you have to pay rent. I mean, you have
You have to
keep a
pay
roof
rent.
over your.
Yeah, you
So
have to pay
it's
rent.
not money oriented. That right there. If you still have that idea, you need to get over that. It took me a long time because I was in an organization where we were slaves for years, and they paid our rent. Basically, we were in cockroach infested, rat infested hovels, and then we went to work for them, and we lived off Wonder Bread. That's the food that they ate, and so it took me a
But
lot
you were
of
in a literal cult. You were in a
literal
literal.
cult to get out of that mind control. But here's the thing: you have to understand it's just fundamental to survive. You need a roof over your head. That's going to cost money. You need food, it's going to cost money. You need clothes, that's going to cost money. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing is when it's inverted, where because we have such a massive amount of corruption and lie around money, these extremes, and where we know they're printing money and it's money's not
You're
valuable.
preaching to the choir.
So yeah.
I'm not agreeing with them. I'm
So
telling
for
you,
these
I'm
people that you're
explaining what
talking
their
about,
mindset is. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm explaining, I'm verbalizing their mindset because they want.
Okay.
So we're on the same page. I don't have
Okay.
that issue, but I noticed that a lot of them do. And I've known hundreds of these people here in New York,
That's what they have to work out then.
all around the world. And so a lot of times as a result, they're broke. So they maybe go a little bit to holistic people, but then they don't have enough money. I'm just
Hmm.
explaining the reality of what happens. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm in agreement or not agree. I'm just saying this is what happens. So as a result, a lot of times inevitably, especially if they have jobs and they have insurance from their jobs, they go right back to the medical system that abused them to
Because
try
it
to
was
get
set up to do that. It's
surgeries and
set up to do it.
medication. Yeah, and even though they know what's going on, they intellectually understand everything that's going on, they still sign up for surgeries and medications, and they don't get the holistic help they need. And I'm like, is that cognitive dissonance or what is
Yes.
that?
You said it. That's cognitive dissonance. It's willful ignorance. It is willful ignorance. They know and they're not doing. That's willful ignoring, sadly. But that is very common.
Yeah, it is very common. I observed it so much. And they usually have so much talent. They're truly gifted, talented people. That's why they were picked for those programs because they're gifted and talented. And a lot of times they were literally in gifted and talented programs as kids. But now as adults, essentially all they can do, they devote their lives to healing their trauma themselves. And I don't know how far they get, but eventually they have physical problems because a lot of them had surgeries and medications and drugs in the programs. The body starts to break down. They don't have access to those anymore after they leave the program. Now they're like between a rock and a hard place. Some of them may want to return to those programs because at least they were getting that kind
Yeah.
of,
It's
getting the,
it's a known hell.
it's a known
Yeah.
hell. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so,
Sadly.
and so but I also wonder if it's a trust issue. If they too, even though everything that they're aware of that has gone on with them, they also sort of like identify with the abuser and don't trust all these
Yeah,
people.
again, it's a known hell. I mean, that's that there's so much information on that. The brain's going to go back to safety, what it knows, even though it's hell, in lieu of an unknown place of heaven, right?
So what
I
would you
think
advise to
that,
what would you advise
yeah,
to people like that?
I think that I would get Kathy O'Brien's book if you've had that
A lot of them
level
read
of
it.
depth.
They read it.
Good, and so make sure you use some of the tools she talks about in there, and then you get your foundations in. You focus on your basics, and you stop replaying. And the way you do that is you use your imagination, you create something better because they used your imagination to create and crack your mind. And Kathy talks a lot about this. You have to take back those parts of your mind because it's been cracked and fragmented. So you have to then lay down new pathways. In Pert's, it's not Catherine Pert, it's Cameron Pert, what's her name? Pert, biology, not biology. So Pert she saw that the neuroplasticity, and so we know the neuroplasticity is there in the brain. We know that it can be changed. We know, but it takes work, and it is hard work, and a lot of us don't want to do the work, but you have to lay down new grooves in that brain, and it's going to take repetition. Much of what Kathy talks about is the repetitive process. That's what they did, is they broke you down. Anyone who's been in those programs, they break you down through a repetitive process over and over and over again. So you have to almost reprogram yourself, and it takes work, but you can do it. It'll take as long as it takes. I'm still doing the work, and I'm 40 years in after being majorly programmed with pain, with sexual trauma, with drugs. You have to keep doing it if it's worth it to you. Otherwise, just go be another NPC, because that's what they're trying to make, is to just be another NPC. And if you're okay with that, just call it and say, I'm good being an NPC. I'm good. Give me the steak. I want to feel nothing. Right? The guy that says that in the Matrix. I
Oh
want to
yeah.
feel nothing. Give me the steak.
Cipher. I think his
Well,
name's Cipher. I think.
cipher. Yeah. Well, let's have the steak and eat it too, and no to type of thing. And I think we can. I think I've seen it. I'm doing a lot of work with out of body experience. I think this is really important. I would leave my body just because I couldn't take the trauma. So I was out, boop, gone. Now I'm doing it in a controlled way and starting to understand the shifts of this planet. And once you know, you can't unknow. That's that's really important. You can't unknow,
I also just
right?
had an insight. I just had a hunch that one of the reasons this is happening is because once they are adult and they seem to be out of the program, a lot of them, maybe all of them, may not actually be out. They somehow get put back in, either through their own activity or their kids get put in, or they're with someone who is in that and it's influencing them. So
Very
in
possible.
so in some way they are still highly influenced by those programs and the programs don't allow them to heal. They put in their mind, you're not allowed to heal. We're not gonna. So
It's
they might
definitely
be,
booby trapped. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
they might want to call somebody, and then right at that moment they get a thought, no, I'm not gonna call them. I'm busy or I'm tired. I gotta take it. And it's a death by a thousand cuts. All these things seem to happen that derail them to not fully heal.
It is going to take you, the individual, being absolutely vigilant and deciding you are worth fighting for. I can't decide that for you. I want to say that. I want to say that to everyone. I so want to just take everyone by the shoulders and look at them. You are worth it. You are worthy. You are deserving to create safe a life. You're worthy. You're worth it. But you couldn't have told me that. I would have looked away. No, 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 because of that programming. So it is going to take the individual. Sometimes it's a near death experience, and that's hard. But those near death experiences can be the catalyst. So I just wish, I truly wish each to find their way in a in their way, I guess, in their best way. And I send that with my heart and I send it with love to everyone on this planet and in this field.
Well, that's awesome. So if someone wants to work with you, what do you do for people? How can you help people? How can they find you?
So the biggest thing I'm doing right now is speaking, but I'm speaking on like Lead Stronger Longer is my latest book. And the first chapter is about telling the truth. We have too many leaders who are lying to themselves, lying. And so I'm out speaking again. I'm speaking to any group, any podcast, any organization, and I'm going in and talking about it. It could look like talking about burnout, resilience, productivity, engagement, right? Because I provide employee assistance program for companies, and I go in and work with the leadership teams. So this is, I mean, that's how I make my living and get compensated so that I can do the work that is, we'll say, pro bono. And so the deeper work is something that when I'm working one on one with someone, I'm only doing a handful. I energetically just can't handle that many. But I have my Yogalachi program. I've been doing that for 25 years. I think we met when I was doing Yogalachi at Net Profit MPE with Sean. And so that is a beautiful, that's my Yoga Pilates Tai Chi. That was my way of creating something that was healing to me to go in my body. And so that is holistic, optimal movement, optimal mindset, optimal nutrition in small doable changes. And so you could go to yogalachi.com and start that. It's really nice. Just I mostly work with women over 40 because that's what I know really well right now. And so that's the Yogalachi, YOGILACHI.com. That's where someone could work with me in a group. It's absolutely magnificent. The group that we have, we do 3 cohorts a year and then do 2 retreats a year. Powerful, powerful. I won't say that I've had anyone who's had incredibly deep mind control stuff come through the program. but definitely folks who've had trauma, something that I am very experienced with and understand and have many tools. And then I'm empowering you to have the tools and to create your own toolbox that works for you. So those are the two pathways. I would say go to leadstrongerlonger.com for my outward work, and then yogalachi.com for the coaching.
Awesome. Yeah, I know Stefana for now, was it like 3 or 4 years?
Well, it's been way before that because it was before COVID,
Oh,
and that was
really?
6 years ago.
So yeah,
Hmm.
and I kind of follow it. I look, and you're consistently doing good work. You're really, really genuinely helping people. You don't just say you do, you actually help people. That's what I've seen.
Thanks. Thank you.
So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being on.
As do you. You're amazing.
Oh, I
Keep
appreciate
doing
it.
keep doing your great work, and that's all we can do, right?
Absolutely. That's all we can do.
Mhm.
I thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Stefana. She and I both have had a lot of experience helping our clients with trauma, healing ourselves from trauma, helping our families with trauma. Healing is a journey, and you're not really meant to go alone. In the end, you burn out. So if you've had trauma from the past and you need help to heal, do not hesitate to contact me. You can schedule a free 15-minute call. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone that you think can really use help with healing. I offer a very unique type of coaching. It's spiritual and it's holistic. So very sensitive individuals are safe getting these kinds of services. Share this video far and wide with as many people as you can, because there are a lot of people who need help and they're too afraid to ask or don't know where to go. And if you put this video in front of them, they may be able to get something out of it that can help them to figure out how to go to the next step and actually seek the help they need. Book your 15-minute call. The link is in the description below. I work with a lot of individuals of very difficult backgrounds, so your information, your private data is very secure with me. It doesn't go anywhere. Stay blessed, not stressed.